Welcome to the fine print, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caleb Teskey, and I'm joined by Devin Dannat, Derek Porter, and Katie Tilton of Clean Cannabis Vermont in Hardwick, guys. Thank you. This is my first foursome, so thank you for being here with me today.
Well, we're looking forward to a good time.
Cool. Well, I normally start with a segment I call 5-minute life story. So maybe you could all tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, if you don't mind.
Sure. Go ahead, Katie. You can start.
Okay. I'm Katie Tilton, born and raised in Vermont. I'm actually certified in massage therapy. I find that I really like nurturing all things, plants being one also. I have a lot of gardening experience and home grow experience. And I met these guys recently. I'm going to be their lead grower at Clean Cannabis. So I'm excited for that.
Awesome.
I'm Derek Porter. I'm originally from North Shore of Mass. I've been in the state now for 10 years. A lot of my experience comes from the home cultivation side of things. And then I also did a lot of restaurant industry work in the state. And so I'm happy to bring over into a new field that I'm very passionate about.
I'm trying to break out of the restaurant industry myself.
Nice. I'm Devin Dannat. Also fairly new to the industry, as we all are, I guess, kind of getting into the full swing of the large scale market. I've got a lot of years in retail, actually. I went to school for business management. So prior to this job, I managed Kinney Drugs for about 6 years, worked for that company for about 10 years. Managed for Tractor Supply, and then I went and worked for a coatings manufacturer, formulating wood finishes, and then kind of made some changes based on some lifestyle changes, and really got into cannabis to satisfy some health changes, and made some drastic changes in my life, and the benefits kind of led me to where we are now, and saw a great opportunity with the emerging market here in Vermont. So this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Now, I heard about you guys through a grapevine. Let me ask you first, why Hardwick?
It was the right place. So the contractors we're using, Gravel Construction, GCing our project, they're actually my cousins. So we approached them a few years ago with a pipe dream of an underground aquaponics type facility, and kind of a pipe dream, and it evolved from there. And being in the construction industry, they obviously have the knowledge and know-how, so we trusted them. So we were actually looking at different properties around the area, and they said if we didn't find something that we were looking for, that they had this gravel pit that more or less was exhausted, and they were looking to kind of create an industrial park. So they had property that we had an opportunity to purchase. We were interested, and we went and looked at it, and it actually is the perfect location for a facility of our size. It gives us some kind of natural security. It's a wide open space and gives us room to grow. And it was convenient for them because it's right there where they have all their equipment. So it was easy to start the construction process and get us rolling.
Yeah, somebody said, just drive by, you can't miss it. I drove by and I totally missed it, which was kind of incredible to me.
We like it that way.
Yeah, hey, I agree. I think that's probably a good thing. So one thing I'd like to focus on really is the facility. That's kind of, it was when it was presented to me, they said, oh, these guys got the most state-of-the-art facility in Vermont. Maybe you could just let's walk through this from the very beginning. Like, maybe you could remember when I came in, maybe you guys could just walk me through the building and tell us about your setup, because I've never seen anything quite like that.
Sure. So we can kind of break down, and we can all, I think, talk to some different aspects. The biggest, I guess, wow factor that people get out of our facility is our lighting system. And that's the first thing you kind of see when you walk through the entrance of the far side of the building, is you see that massive wall with all of the plumbing, and would look like just basic plumbing for a facility, or it almost looks like a wall that would house a sprinkler system for fire suppression. But the lights that we chose are manufactured by Agnetics out of California, and we were turned on to these lights by our consultant that we have been working with through this project, Joe Velden. He's running the lights in his facility and just kind of doing a lot of research and listening to the talking points. The upfront cost of these lights are probably the most expensive on the market, but long-term payoff, they're about the cheapest lights to run, the most efficient. So kind of some of the cool talking points to these lights are the fact that they're liquid cooled. And Derek, why don't you talk about some of the features and how the lights work?
Let me interrupt you real quick. I forgot to ask you what type of licenses that you are applying for.
We're doing tier 3 indoor cultivation.
Just the growing. Okay, cool.
So we're gonna have just shy of that 5,000 square feet of canopy.
Okay, cool. Go ahead. I just wanted to sneak that in there.
Yeah. So then the really cool thing about these lights, how Devin was saying they're liquid cooled, is with this technology we're able to capture half of the heat potential of these lights, their output, before they even enter the room. So the liquid cooling pulls it out of the fixture before it can get in the room, and we have to add more cooling to our room. So we have about half the capacity that we would if you were using any other LEDs for our cooling system. And then we're also able to tie into these lights and use some of the waste heat and use it elsewhere in the facility for beneficial purposes. We're going to be putting it out into our receiving pad, a couple other concrete pads we have for equipment, and our sidewalk that runs the full length of the front of the building. So that in the winter we can divert our flow out there and not have to use electricity to cool our liquid cool loop. And then we also get the benefit of free snow melt in the winter. So a lot of our people, we've got Maine Oxy coming to deliver CO2 for us. They're very excited. They said their delivery drivers will probably be fighting over us because we don't have to go out there and shovel for them. It'll be guaranteed clear for them.
So one of the things as far as designing and building a structure like this, just as a business in general in Vermont, they want to make sure that you're meeting state energy codes. And being that these type of facilities in this industry draw a lot of electricity, it was part of the compliance for applying for a cultivation license that we take into consideration the burden that these type of facilities have on the grid. So we had to put together a plan to ensure that we were doing everything possible to minimize our footprint, which we have a pretty big footprint, and we are definitely going to be some large consumers of electricity. But like Derek was saying, the liquid cool loop takes a lot of that burden off. We're able to cut our AC capacity in half, which, as you saw, we have a tremendous amount of AC. We're running 56 tons of air conditioning in that building. Well, you can imagine what that wall would look like if we were running 100 to 110 tons of AC capacity. So just cutting that in half is tremendous. The lights give us a lot of ability to monitor remotely and really cater to the needs of the plants. Why don't you go through some of the diagnostics that they offer? Yeah,
that's one of the big selling features that Agnetics has, is they call it their HMI, and that's their interface. You can internet access, and so through that we get a whole breakdown of, you can go into each light, see what its power consumption is, get a graph over 60 days if we want. It also tells us our canopy temperature. It has the ability to detect minute changes and send alerts to us and to our team. Agnetics is always on standby to step in and provide guidance with their product. So the Agnetics it's just been like this whole package. And so the HMI, you can get anything from BPD to CO2 charts, anything like that. So if we come in and we find something's gone wrong, we can go back and see, oh yeah, CO2 was off the charts last night. So
So they have CO2 sensors like built into the
Oh
lighting
yeah,
system.
everything. So the really cool part about it is we have 72 of these fixtures per flower room, and each one of these grow lights has its own Raspberry Pi chipset built into it. So they're computing. Each light has its own computing power, and
Wow.
it's just real time, constantly getting data all across the charts. Anything we could possibly want, we can get charted for 60 days.
I was gonna say the software, the screen that you had pulled up when I was there, it looks like a nuclear reactor where you just have like every node in the system. And
Yeah, there's a learning curve with them, but they're some of the most advanced LED technology on the market. And we as soon as we spoke with Joe, our consultant, and we really got a run through with Agnetics team there, we knew that we needed those lights in our facility.
how much? Let me ask you, how much does one of those lights run?
So they we got them with a small discount. I believe we paid $1,500 per fixture. So
Damn.
they're pricey, but the thing you get out of going through Agnetics is they're constantly there. Like I said, if we get an alert from the system, then our team at Agnetics is getting an alert too, and so they have the ability to come in and help us out. They can even coach you. They're like, that's one thing that they're big on is there's growing underneath their lights is really intense, and you can have, and they can kind of coach you through kind of this is, you're growing under our lights, they want to support you.
So, and we're talking about the upfront cost of these lights and the payoff as far as the energy consumption, essentially what they offer and benefit. Through this project, we worked pretty closely with Efficiency Vermont. So this lighting system was new to them. They're a great organization to work with. Anybody getting into new construction in this industry or really putting up any kind of building for commercial use in the state, they really should be contacting Efficiency Vermont. They work very closely with us. We supply them with cut sheets on all of our components and infrastructure. And we were able to take advantage of some pretty serious rebates back from them. They came out toward the facility and actually while they were there signing off on the infrastructure, found some components and some opportunities for even more incentives. So it's just, if you look at your electricity bill, there's a very small charge from Efficiency Vermont. So this is all money that we're paying into the system that's available for everybody. You just need to reach out and make those connections and take advantage of that opportunity. And we certainly have. We've got a lot of money tied up in this, so every little bit helps. And that was a substantial amount of savings coming back our way with investing in that kind of infrastructure.
Yeah, I've heard good things about those guys over there at Efficiency Vermont.
Yeah, great to work with.
Yeah,
it's a great program.
Now, you guys said that you also hired all local contractors, I believe. Is that right?
We did. Yeah. So big shout out to Kendall and Stephanie at White River Grow Pro. We purchased, with the exception of our Agnetics lighting, all of our tables, all of our grow equipment and supplies through them. So you can imagine a facility this size, that's a pretty substantial payday for a smaller grow shop like theirs, but they knocked it out of the park. We were their largest grow to date at this point, but being a small shop, they've got it together and they can take on the biggest of grows and really knock it out of the park. Not only supplying the products, but really being there as a helping hand to kind of work through any kind of problems. They're great to bounce ideas off from. They have a tremendous amount of grow experience themselves. So just kind of working through the process with them has really been phenomenal. All of the contractors we use for constructing the facility are all local people. One big aspect was electrical. As you can imagine, in a facility like this, we teamed up with Local Electric and Jordan Electric, and they're actually still working on a facility at this very moment. We're tying things up. We worked with Netto's Plumbing and Heating out of Newport, another local company. Those guys, Local Electric, all the electrical companies we've worked with, and the plumbing and HVAC people. This was new for all of them. They did a tremendous amount of research to help us were installed properly. We had all the systems that we needed. Even through to the design process, we thought we had everything nailed down, and we thought we had everything kind of put together, but it seemed like at least once a month, there was some new system that we kind of stumbled upon we didn't really know we needed to kind of tie everything together. And all these guys, none of them really got too worked up. They just made it work. And as long as the money was coming in, they were happy to make it work.
Yeah, no doubt. Now I got to ask you, I'm guessing a lot of these contractors have never done a facility like this, probably, if I had to guess.
They have not.
So,
and I
so
will
you guys
say,
kind of learning together.
we certainly are, and we've all had a great time. Derek, Katie, myself, we've been actually working up on site with the construction team, doing a lot of stuff for ourselves for the last 3 to 4 months. So we've gotten to know a lot of contractors on a personal level, and we can honestly say most of the people, if not all of them that we've worked with, have really enjoyed working on our facility. We try to keep things fun, but just because it's something different, it's not your cookie cutter job where they're just going in, wiring up the building. They've enjoyed, I think, learning with us.
Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to start a construction company that just specializes in these kind of things, you know.
We've been trying to convince a couple of outfits to add a cannabis division.
Nice.
Like that, because the work that they've done is just, it's amazing. You know, everyone comes in, that's the first thing they say. They're like, you had some good contractors for this job because the work is just impeccable.
Yeah, we've actually invited some of them. Only one of them's taken us up on the offer so far, but Vermont Cannabis Solutions does the monthly networking events, and we've had some other events. There was a 420 event that Dakota from Local Electric actually came, and they were mingling with people in the industry and, you know, offering up his services to people that need them. Those are great opportunities for some of these contractors that have some experience doing some of this stuff now, to go out and offer up their services and answer questions, because there's certainly a ton of questions surrounding infrastructure in these type of facilities.
Yeah, like, did you guys have to build out like a septic system and all of that stuff as well?
We did, yeah. Fortunately, you know, our methods of cultivation, we're not having weren't having big waste demands on any system. So, you know, we didn't have to do anything too crazy in way of, you know, septic and stuff like that. But, you know, our mechanical and electric ended up costing as much as putting the building up, because, you know, obviously there's lots of that infrastructure to grow.
But we did work with, we actually worked with DeWolf and Pearson Associates as far as engineering our facility. We worked with some great architects that were kind of some family friends. But we worked with all these different Vermont companies as far as the design process and putting it all together. And the team we had was fantastic. We were on the phone probably 10 to 15 times a day, a lot of these type of meetings, discussing, changing things, changing the layout. Knowing right now is probably one of the most expensive times in history to build. Unfortunately, you know, we had to finally jump on it. This was our time to get rolling, and we definitely paid a premium getting that facility up. And, you know, you've had your eyes on it yourself. There's a lot to it other than just putting up 4 walls. There's a tremendous amount of engineering and materials inside of that building.
And I'm sure, you know, when you're putting together, like you said, you kept running into things that you didn't know you needed, and well, now we got to stop and sort of work that in. Boy, I mean, I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, it's not the hugest place, but as far as places that I've seen in Vermont, that for sure, you come in, you're like, wow, this is fancy. For sure, I'm a small town boy, you know.
Well, we've got the wow factor going for us, and we still experience that ourselves every day we walk in and look down that hallway.
And I see, I notice you guys are sort of eager to give people tours and show them around. Why is that?
Well, not everybody, and not everybody that's going to watch this. We certainly have some security measures we have to kind of keep in place. You know, we don't want everyone knowing our layout, but we brought people in the industry, people we're going to be working with. We've had a lot of our retailer partners that we want to be working with and selling our products. We felt it was important for them to come in and kind of see the facility and what it is they're buying. It's not just the product, they're buying the relationship with us. We wanted them to see firsthand where their product is going to be grown and the protocols and the equipment that is in place to ensure that we're creating the highest of quality products that we can. And we haven't even talked as far as our grow mediums and how we're going to be actually cultivating, but
We're gonna get to that.
yeah.
I hope.
But we thought it was important to kind of share what we've put together, and quite honestly, we're quite proud of what we've built. So we wanted to share that to some extent with some of our partners and yourself. We thought it was important, kind of leading up to this interview, that you had a little bit of background as to what we put together, and you saw firsthand that we're not just blowing smoke. We've built something pretty incredible.
Yes, I agree. I'm glad that Nick told me about it.
Yeah.
I've been meeting a bunch of people at work. I've been sliding this into customers and just kind of seeing. I met some guys in Waterbury that are building a dispensary. I met a security company guy. I don't know if you've met Dave yet, but he's making his rounds.
Oh, Dave.
Yeah, Dave Butch is a good friend of ours.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Dave's a good man.
Yeah, they're
So-
a perfect example of kind of the contracting agencies that we've talked about, really creating a cannabis division for this industry starting up here in Vermont. And that's exactly what Seacoast has done. They have a cannabis division for their business that really focuses just on outfitting cannabis facilities for security and that type of infrastructure. They're huge in Maine, but they have a whole division that's dedicated just to businesses like ourselves.
Now, this is something that's come up a lot. People, some of the people up here that I've been speaking with want to carry guns. That's not going to be allowed from the sounds of it. So what kind of other services would a security company provide you that can help sort of keep you secure?
Yeah.
Sure. So without divulging too
Sure.
many trade secrets, infrastructure on our facility, but it's not just seeing people coming into the building. You look at a lot of retailers and they have a few cameras outside, so they can kind of see people may be approaching the building. The majority of their infrastructure is inside, cameras reviewing customers with inside. The infrastructure that Seacoast offers is really it's full spectrum. So it's monitoring the complete surrounding of our property, our building, as well as monitoring the inside. Obviously, there's certain compliance that comes along with the permitting going along with cultivating cannabis. Inside, we have to have really more or less any area that sees THC fully monitored 24/7. But we have a system that is monitored 24/7 by Seacoast Security, so that if we have any type of disturbance or motion outside of the facility after hours while we're not there, they're on it. They're monitoring it. They're letting us know, and they're ready to dispatch police at a moment's notice. So I can tell you this: you're not going to get very close to our building without being alerted. The police will know. We will know. And things get very loud and scary. So
Yeah. We know from personal experience when they tested the system.
Oh.
So again, you can't go into too much detail as far as the equipment goes, because we obviously don't want to divulge too much, but
Yeah.
we will say, if anyone tries, they're going to have a really hard time and probably going to have an evening ruined, and they're going to be probably in jail for the night.
So what's your timeline on the build out here? Do you have one?
Yeah, we're actually wrapping up construction right now. We're finishing up getting our parking lot finished up, but with the inside of the building, Katie spent some time yesterday getting ready. Katie, why don't you go ahead and let them know what you're working on
Yeah,
yesterday?
Katie.
So all the grow rooms, I was working in veg yesterday, just cleaning everything down. The walls are all like waterproof, so they're easy to clean. You just spray them down and sanitize. The tables, the trays for the tables, it'll be all hydro. So again, just spraying everything down, cleaning everything. And then from there, they'll go to the grow rooms. We have 3 flower rooms, so I do have a little bit of cleaning ahead of me. But one room at a time.
So as far as our talking about cleaning and the fact that we're Clean Cannabis, we're committed to keeping a very clean facility to ensure that we're offering the cleanest product we can and really minimizing what type of components we're using in our IPM to manage pests. So keeping a clean facility, keeping the bugs out, and really limiting the amount of pesticides we'll be using on our crops. This is all part of it. So whenever we're in our cultivation area, we're going to be wearing booties or in sterile scrubs. And anytime we're interacting with the plants, we're going to be in Tyvek suits. So we're taking this, very serious. There will not be many tours once we're up and running as far
I
as
was gonna say.
having plants in, because that whole cultivation area is going to be for the cultivation team only, with maybe some minor exceptions periodically. But it's important to ensure that you're keeping a clean facility. So you're really offering the best quality product you can and minimizing what you're having to spray on them.
Now, do you have any estimates as to how much flower you could crank out of a place that size?
We definitely do. So right now with our infrastructure in our flower rooms, maxed out, per room, we have 3 flower rooms. We're looking at being able to produce 800 pounds of wet weights, and that calculates out to about 300 pounds dry after processing. So we're definitely going to be, producing some solid numbers. And right now we're outfitted with 2 of our flower rooms, and we'll get our 3rd online, after we get a couple grows under our belt. So we're definitely we're set up to churn out some numbers, that's for sure.
So that's per harvest per room.
Yeah.
So once we're up and running with all 3 flower rooms, we're going to be on a perpetual cycle, essentially harvesting every month. So conservative numbers that we're looking at are around 300 pounds per room per month of dry weight. So
Nice.
that's a fair amount of flower, which is not going to be strictly dedicated to just selling a smokable product. We're going to be processing. We're going to be using a company to process. We're not pulling any manufacturing licenses ourselves, but we'll be offering extracts, pre-rolls, a line of edibles, as well as some other fun surprises that we kind of have up our sleeves.
So you're going to be, well, that's not vertical integration, but you're going to be sort of, it sounds like you've got most of those pieces sort of in play here.
We do. Yep. We're going to be working with some other companies doing some white labeling for us and doing some processing. We had looked into pulling a manufacturing license ourselves. We're doing some really minimal processing. But in this industry, working at these different networking events, we've met a lot of other companies that, they want a piece of the game, and they're not all looking to grow. Not everyone that's licensed in this industry is looking to produce product. There's some companies that we've worked with that are looking just to test product. There's some companies that are looking to do just extraction. There's some companies that are looking to do just analytics. So there's a piece of the pie for everybody. And we have so much infrastructure tied up just in cultivation. We came to the conclusion that we don't need to do it all ourselves. And there's no reason not to kind of share the wealth and spread around to everybody. And they've built their infrastructure to focus on these really key aspects of the process, and we're going to utilize their businesses that they've put together.
Just for the folks at home now, at the end of when you harvest, right? If I'm not mistaken, you have to weigh your product wet, and then you weigh it dry. Can you tell us a little bit about the harvest process?
Yeah, so with the first year, especially, with the seed to sale tracking kind of being left to the cultivators to put together something that the state will be happy with for that monitoring. But that's part of the whole process of just keeping track of product and all that. They want to know what your wet weight is going in versus the dry. It's just all part of keeping track of where the product's going and making sure that we're keeping up on everything.
So that's one topic that we can kind of fall back to. Surprises popping up. We have plans on how we're going to do this, but as far as infrastructure for weighing it, wet versus dry, we're still working through some of that as far as getting our process together. And we're going to be going through a cycle of hemp here starting right off. So that'll give us kind of an opportunity to iron out some of these details and really get a good handle on our belt to see if we need to add additional components and infrastructure to make sure that we're meeting all the requirements that the CCB has kind of put in place, surrounding some of these questions like what you're talking about. We don't claim to have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does.
No, anybody who says that is blowing smoke up your ass.
It's day by day. We're figuring it out as we go, but we feel like we've got the tools and the infrastructure we need to make it happen properly, and we're not scared.
Now, I was hoping, we got about 5 minutes left here. I was hoping maybe we could cut this in the next chunk. We could get into maybe some of the CCB stuff and the rules and regulations. And what else was I going to ask here? Oh, so for as far as transporting and packaging from, like, you guys harvest and then you got to get your stuff to a retail dispensary. What are some of the challenges with that?
So again, there's other companies that had invested in that infrastructure as far as having the vehicles that are set up with the proper infrastructure for transporting. We're a pretty small crew starting out with a fairly large operation. We're not going to have time to be driving all over the place delivering product to dispensaries. So we're looking to utilize some outsourcing there to some of these other companies. Shout out to Extract Vermont. They're gonna be doing a lot of processing for us.
Grayson, yeah, I talked to him a little bit.
Yep, Grayson, Trevor, those guys are great. So that's something they're looking at offering up. That's definitely something we're gonna probably utilize as far as transporting and getting stuff to dispensaries. We have a lot going on, as I said, so we're probably not gonna be out on the road. So if you see our truck on the road, there's not gonna be product in the back of it.
Now, is there any type of liability associated with you hand your product off to Grayson? What if Grayson gets in a car accident, or Grayson, somebody tries to rob him or something? How does that work? Do you guys know? I really don't know.
Still emerging at this point, but I mean, we actually, I was on the phone with our insurance company yesterday for about an hour talking about some of this stuff as far as liability and coverage. These are all assumptions, but I would assume that once they take ownership, because essentially that's what it is, once they take ownership of our product, then it's the liability that's kind of resting on their shoulders at that point. But we're all still trying to figure it out. Even the insurance companies, there's a lot of questions that they're asking, and it seems like they're kind of making them up as they go along, because they don't really know either. So you probably know as much as we do at this point.
Insurance, I'm going to tell you, is really a blind spot for me.
Yeah. We're learning. We're definitely learning.
Yeah, it seems like there's not a ton of options for insurance either. Is that accurate?
There's a few carriers. We're pretty fortunate. I've been working with a company called Cheeseman and Turnbull Insurance, and I've been working with them really since I was 16 years old for all of my personal insurance, homeowners insurance, but they have a division dedicated just to commercial policies and business. And I have the utmost trust in those guys. Our agent's actually coming out tomorrow on site to tour the facility and wrap up some loose ends. I would encourage anybody that's on the fence about finding a policy to reach out to Jonathan Gray over at Cheeseman and Turnbull and pick their brains and see what they can do for you, because he put something together for us. There's definitely companies out there that are willing to insure this market. You got to find the right ones, and you got to find the people that have the knowledge to get you there.
So do they insure the building as well as like the plants? Is there any kind of crop insurance?
Yeah, you can get crop insurance. We're probably going to be going through some cycled phases. We're going to self-insure a portion of that ourselves, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of money tied up. 300 pounds of marijuana in wholesale, there's a decent price tag attached to that. But there's also a huge price tag attached to the overhead and getting it grown to that point. We're looking at a pretty substantial amount of overhead on a monthly basis just to grow to get a product ready for finished market. You want some kind of insurance to cover that. If something happens, we're talking a lot of money that it's tough to eat that. We're looking at upwards of $15,000 a month just in electricity costs to get one of these crops going. So you can imagine that over a period of a 4-month cycle, just the energy cost alone, if you were to lose an entire crop, that's a tough pill to swallow. If
Wow,
you can't
that's,
recuperate
yeah,
that money.
that's over 4 months. That's what, that's creeping up into $150,000 maybe.
There's a lot of money
Yeah.
tied up, not just electricity, but nutrients and labor costs. So you want to have some insurance to cover the what ifs.
For sure. All right. Well, I'm gonna cut this right here. You guys got time for another one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Cool. Give me a few minutes to set up the link and I'll get right back with you. Thanks, guys.